I called my parents from the clinic parking lot on a Thursday afternoon. "I need surgery," I said. "The doctor says I have maybe 6 months before permanent damage sets in. It's going to cost $12,000. There was silence. Not the thoughtful kind. The kind where you can hear someone calculating whether this is an emergency they actually have to care about. My father spoke first. "That's quite a bit." "Yes. We're in the middle of some expensive renovations right now. Your mother's been wanting to update the kitchen for years." I closed my eyes and pressed my forehead against the steering wheel.
Right.
"I understand. Maybe you could apply for financing? You're good with money." And there it was. The subtle redirect. The implication that this was a problem I should solve alone because I was competent enough to do it. Because I'd always been competent enough. Because asking for help from your parents when you're facing permanent physical damage is apparently the same as asking for a favor. I hung up and sat there for 20 minutes, hands gripping the wheel, waiting for the feeling I expected. Hurt. Anger. Something hot and immediate. Instead, something inside me went cold.
Clear.
I wasn't their responsibility in the way my sister was. I'd never been. 3 days later, my father had bailed out my sister's first business venture, an online boutique that burned through $15,000 in 6 months. He'd written a check without blinking. No questions, no contracts, no lectures. My mother called it helping her find her footing. When the second venture failed, a wellness studio with more mirrors than clients, they'd refinanced part of the house to keep it afloat. I remembered sitting at the kitchen table during one of those conversations, eating cereal after a 12-hour shift at my first job. I didn't say anything. I just watched. When I was 22, my car's transmission went out. I needed $2,000 to fix it so I could commute to work. I asked my parents for a loan. Not a gift. A loan. My father printed out a contract from his office. Interest included. 5%. My mother insisted we get it notarized. "It's important to be formal," she said. "It builds character." I ate canned food and walked miles for 6 months to pay them back early. I thought responsibility would earn respect. It didn't. It just set the standard for how much I could be expected to endure without complaint. Now, facing permanent disability that they wouldn't help fund, that pattern suddenly made sense. This wasn't about money. They had money. They just didn't have it for me. 1 week later, I sat across from a financial advisor in a glass office downtown. His name was Marcus, and he specialized in high-net-worth clients who needed to understand what they were protecting. "I need to understand my family's finances," I said. "Everything. Not just what they show on tax returns." He pulled up documents on his screen. Mortgages. Investment accounts. Properties. Then he paused. "What's this about?" he asked carefully. "They refused to help me with a medical emergency. But they've funded my sister's failed businesses 3 times. And they have the money. They just don't believe they have it for me." He nodded slowly, then pulled up something else. The business my father ran. Privately held, but with interesting structures. Deferred income. Tax shelters. Accounts held in different names. "You're thinking about what?" he asked. "I'm thinking about whether they've been paying their full share of taxes. And I'm thinking about what happens if they haven't." He leaned back in his chair and studied me. "That's a serious question. And it requires a serious answer. Are you sure?" I thought about the phone call, the kitchen renovation, the message that my health was less important than marble countertops. "I'm sure." 2 weeks later, a forensic accountant named Sarah walked me through 3 years of financial records. She had the patient, precise demeanor of someone who'd spent a career finding what people had buried. "Here," she pointed, "this deduction is borderline. Illegal. Aggressive. There's gray area. But if someone was looking, really looking, they'd have questions." We went through the files systematically. My father wasn't running a sophisticated fraud operation. He was just being aggressive about what he could claim. Income shifted to his wife's account to lower his tax bracket. Business expenses that weren't entirely business expenses. Charitable donations to accounts that were harder to trace. Nothing that would send him to prison. Everything that would trigger an audit if reported. We're describing, Sarah said carefully, is tax optimization that skirts the line. It's not uncommon, but it's also not entirely legal. How exposed are they?
Very.
If the IRS looked, they'd find things to question. Penalties, definitely. Interest on unpaid taxes. Possibly fraud charges if it could be proven they knew what they were doing. I looked at the documents spread across her desk. Months of my parents' financial life laid bare. All the ways they'd been clever about keeping more than they should have. All the ways they'd been willing to bend rules to protect their comfort. I need to file a report, I said. The waiting period. I didn't tell anyone what I'd done. Not the brother who'd shown up for me. Not my roommate. Not the therapist I was seeing to process the medical trauma. I just waited. 3 weeks later, my mother called. Her voice was different.
Tight.
We received a notice from the IRS, she said carefully. They're opening an audit. Our accountant says it's routine, but it's going to be involved. I said nothing. Do you know anything about this? About what? About why they might be looking at us? No, I said. It was technically true. I hadn't told her anything. She made a sound that wasn't quite a laugh. Your father is furious. He's saying someone reported us. An employee, maybe. Or a competitor. He thinks someone's trying to sabotage him. I could picture him perfectly. Pacing. Blaming. Convinced that the world was acting against him specifically, unable to fathom that his own choices might have consequences. That sounds stressful, I said. 8 weeks in, my father hired expensive accountants. The kind who wore suits that cost more than most people's rent. They had an office downtown with mahogany furniture and confidence that bordered on arrogance. I watched my family's social media presence change. My mother's posts became less frequent. My sister's Instagram vanished entirely. No more curated success. No more carefully framed vulnerability designed to build her personal brand. Instead, silence. My father called once. Just once. If you did this, he said, his voice steady and cold, you should know that family is everything. And what you'd be doing would be unforgivable. I didn't respond. Did you do this? He pressed. I don't know what you're talking about. He hung up. That moment when he believed I might have, when the doubt was enough to reach out and threaten, that told me everything. He wasn't calling to apologize. He wasn't calling to reckon with his choices. He was calling because he was afraid I'd done something back, which meant he knew, on some level, that what he'd done deserved something back. The audit lasted 8 months. During that time, I finished my surgery recovery. Physical therapy became a routine. My legs strengthened. The pain subsided. I ran for the first time without limping. And I watched from a distance as my family's carefully constructed life developed cracks. The final notice came on a Tuesday morning. I knew about it before they did. Sarah had a contact at the accounting firm. Penalties totaling $87,000. Interest on unpaid back taxes. Requirements for amended filings going back 4 years. Not criminal charges, but consequences real enough that they couldn't ignore them. That afternoon, my sister showed up at my apartment. She was dressed carefully, makeup perfect, outfit deliberate. The kind of presentation you put together when you're about to ask for something. She knocked softly. Can we talk? She called through the door. I didn't open it. I just listened. I know something happened with Mom and Dad. I know you might have done something. Whatever it is, we can fix it. We're family. We figure things out together. I leaned my forehead against the cool wood of the door. You always figure things out, she continued. You're the strong one, remember? The one who handles everything. So handle this. Please. Her voice cracked on the last word. Real tears or performance. I couldn't tell anymore. Didn't matter. What mattered was that she was asking me to clean up a mess that wasn't mine to clean. I didn't open the door. She stood there for 5 more minutes. Then I heard her heels clicking down the hallway.
Toward her phone.
Toward whoever she'd call next to fix what she'd broken. The letter came 2 weeks later. My mother's handwriting on the envelope.
Shaky.
3 pages, front and back. I sat on my couch and read it once, then again. We've always tried our best. Families are complicated. You chose a demanding career knowing the risks. Perhaps this is a lesson in responsibility. I hope one day you can forgive us. Forgiveness is the only way forward. She wrote about how hard things had been, how she'd done her best, how the audit was unfair, how families made mistakes. She never wrote, "I'm sorry we valued a kitchen more than your health." She never wrote, "I'm sorry we made you small." At the very end, she wrote, "I hope you understand why we did what we did." I understood perfectly. They'd chosen comfort over compassion, image over integrity, a marble countertop over their daughter's ability to walk without pain. I folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. Then I put it in a drawer where I didn't have to look at it. 3 weeks after the audit concluded, I ran a 5K on a cool morning when the base was still quiet. My stride was careful at first, then longer, smoother. My leg held strong, reliable. I slowed to a walk and laughed out loud, the sound surprising me as much as anyone who might have overheard. That laugh belonged to someone new. Someone who'd stopped protecting people from the consequences of their own choices. That night, I called my brother. We hadn't talked much during the audit period. I deliberately kept him at arm's length. "You okay?" he asked the way he always did.
Yeah.
"Actually, I am." "You did something to them, didn't you?" I didn't answer directly. They needed to understand that their actions have consequences, and I was willing to be the one to show them. He was quiet for a moment. "Are you happy about it?" I thought about that question. "I'm not unhappy," I said. "That's better than I expected to feel." "Good," he said. "Then you did the right thing." That simple statement, not asking for justification, not demanding I explain myself, just accepting that if I did it, it was right, that was the thing that broke me a little. In a good way. He showed up when I needed him. Even if he didn't fully understand what I'd done, he trusted that I'd had reason. That's what family actually is. The silence after. My parents stopped calling altogether. My sister's Instagram stayed dark. My father returned to his routine, but something had shifted. The confidence was gone. The arrogance deflated. I heard about them through secondhand updates that arrived without emotion. Like weather reports. The business was struggling. Friends had distanced themselves. The kitchen renovation was indefinitely postponed. I didn't ask for details. One afternoon, I was running errands downtown when I saw my mother across the street. She was leaving a coffee shop, and she looked smaller somehow. Not physically. Diminished. She saw me. For a second, I thought she might cross the street. She didn't. She just stood there, shopping bags in both hands, watching me watch her. Then she turned and walked in the other direction. That moment, more than any argument, more than any confrontation, that told me everything was truly over. What I learned. I didn't become vengeful. I became precise. I didn't become cruel. I became clear-eyed. I stopped being invisible to myself, which meant I could finally see them for what they actually were. Not evil. Not monsters. Just people who made choices. Consistent, revealing, unambiguous choices. The difference between revenge and accountability is intent. Revenge is about making someone hurt the way you hurt. It's satisfying in the moment, but hollow after. Accountability is quieter. It's using the systems people trusted to show them what those systems can do. It doesn't require your presence. It doesn't require anger. It requires clarity. My family taught me that love isn't loyalty at any cost. It's showing up when it matters. It's not asking whether it's convenient. It's not turning someone's pain into a lesson they need to learn. My brother showed up with presence. My parents showed up with a kitchen renovation and optimized tax structures. The difference is what I'll build my definition of family on moving forward. If you're listening to this and something resonates, if you've been the reliable one, the one who absorbed their dysfunction, the one who made yourself smaller so they could stay comfortable, I want you to know something. You are not responsible for their comfort. You are not required to protect them from the consequences of their choices. And removing yourself from that role isn't cruelty. It's freedom.